The lights gleamed brightly over the sleek black table of ABC's The View, where Whoopi Goldberg leaned back in her chair, delivering a familiar smirk to the camera. The studio audience chuckled as she waved her hands dramatically. "So, did y'all catch the latest from the International Space Station?" she quipped, raising an eyebrow. "Our very own American astronaut, Sunita Williams, had, let's call it, a bit of a rough time up there. Zero gravity isn't for everyone, honey." The audience erupted with laughter. Co-host Joy Behar chimed in, "I mean, look, I can barely handle turbulence on a plane. Imagine trying to float around while your coffee cup keeps running away from you." The laughter grew louder, and for a moment, Whoopi seemed to bask in the attention. "But really," Whoopi added, her tone turning slightly sharp, "you'd think someone with 2 decades of training wouldn't be fumbling around in space like it's her first day at space camp." The joke landed. Another round of chuckles. Unbeknownst to them, 250 miles above Earth, Sunita Williams watched the segment during her downtime. She had heard the noise, the headlines mocking her brief struggle while performing a complex maintenance maneuver outside the station. A minor equipment malfunction had caused her to recalibrate mid-task, nothing any astronaut hadn't faced before. Yet, something about this jab struck a nerve. Maybe it was because she had spent her life defying stereotypes, an Indian-American woman pushing through the military, then NASA, working tirelessly to inspire young girls everywhere. Or maybe it was the casualness with which her years of dedication were being reduced to a punchline. Her hand hovered over the communication panel. Part of her wanted to ignore it. NASA had long advised astronauts to stay out of media squabbles. But today? Today felt different. "Enough," she muttered under her breath. She keyed in the secure channel that connected the ISS to public broadcast links, including media outlets that covered space missions. After a brief exchange with Houston's communications team, she did something unprecedented. She requested a live video call with The View. Back on Earth, the show's producers scrambled. No astronaut had ever directly responded to a segment in real time. The ratings potential was undeniable. Within minutes, a producer handed Whoopi a note. Her eyes widened as she read it. Wait, hold up," she said, signaling for the audience to settle down. Folks, we've got a bit of a surprise guest joining us." The screen behind the panel flickered to life, and there she was, Sunita Williams, floating gracefully inside the International Space Station, her hair gently drifting in microgravity. "Hi, Whoopi," Sunita said, her voice calm but commanding. "I hear you've been talking about me." The audience fell silent. For once, even Whoopi Goldberg seemed caught off guard. "Well," Whoopi began, attempting to regain her footing, "I mean, we were just having a little fun." "Fun at whose expense?" Sunita interjected smoothly, her eyes locking onto the camera. "Because I didn't find it particularly funny." A charged pause filled the air. The astronaut folded her arms, "Not easy in zero gravity," and continued, "I've spent over 30 years of my life serving my country. I flew combat missions before you even thought about space being a punchline. I've logged more hours in orbit than most people have in a lifetime. So yeah, I had a tough day. But I don't think you understand how tough." Whoopi leaned forward, her famous confidence flickering. Okay, fair point," she said. "But come on, Sunita, people joke about everything. Even themselves." "Jokes are fine," Sunita allowed, her voice steady. "But jokes that undermine women who break barriers? Not so much." A murmur rippled through the audience. Sunita tilted her head slightly, her tone softening just a bit. "I grew up watching women being mocked for trying to do things that were too hard, whether it was becoming a scientist, a pilot, or, yes, an astronaut. Every joke like the one you made sends a message to the next girl watching that her struggles are something to be laughed at. That she doesn't belong here." Whoopi opened her mouth, but Sunita wasn't done. "So here's my question for you," she said, floating a little closer to the camera. "What message do you want to send?" The silence in the studio was deafening. The atmosphere on The View was nothing short of electric. For once, Whoopi Goldberg, a woman known for her quick wit and unflinching humor, seemed to be at a loss for words. Across the panel, her co-hosts shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to laugh it off or stay quiet. But Sunita Williams wasn't finished. "You know, Whoopi," she said, her voice still calm but edged with steel. "I've been floating around the station for months, doing things that most people can't even imagine. And let me tell you, nothing about it is easy. Every move we make up here is about precision. Lives depend on it." The camera zoomed in on Sunita's face. No makeup, no filters. Just the quiet intensity of a woman who had faced unimaginable pressure and risen above it. "That day you're joking about?" she continued, raising an eyebrow. I was outside the station for 7 hours. 7 hours. Conducting a critical repair on a solar array. When a mechanical arm jammed, I had seconds to recalibrate and prevent a system-wide failure. You want to laugh about me fumbling? Fine. But that fumble kept the station running. And if I had messed it up, I wouldn't be the only one paying the price. The studio audience, sensing the shift in tone, sat in stunned silence. The laughter was gone. This was something else, something real. Whoopi exhaled sharply and leaned back in her chair. Look, Sunita, she said, attempting to reclaim the conversation. I get that you're proud of what you do. And you should be. Hell, I'd probably pass out just trying to put on that spacesuit. But people joke about all kinds of things. Politicians, celebrities, even themselves. It's not that deep. Sunita tilted her head slightly, her eyes narrowing. Not that deep? She echoed. I wonder if you'd feel the same way if people mocked your struggles, Whoopi. Or if someone reduced your entire career to one bad day on set. The air grew heavier. Whoopi's expression shifted, her playful smirk fading into something more thoughtful. I'm not here to play victim, Sunita said firmly. I've never asked for anyone's pity. But I also won't sit by while powerful voices like yours make it harder for the next girl who wants to break barriers. Because every time someone laughs at our setbacks, it gives the world permission to doubt us. Sunny Hostin, one of the panel's more serious voices, leaned forward, her brow furrowed. Sunita, she asked gently, what do you wish people understood about the reality of your work? Sunita smiled faintly, just a flicker, but it softened the tension. I wish people understood that failure isn't weakness, she said. It's part of the process. Up here, we face challenges every day that no human being was ever designed to handle. But we do it anyway, because that's how we push the boundaries of what's possible. A beat of silence passed before she added, and I wish people like you, she glanced back at Whoopi, understood that when you mock those struggles, you're not just laughing at me, you're laughing at every young girl who dreams of doing something extraordinary. The audience, quiet for so long, broke into murmured applause. Even Whoopi, despite her hardened exterior, seemed to absorb the weight of Sunita's words. Fair point, Whoopi admitted, raising her hands slightly. I can respect that. But let me ask you, doesn't humor help take the edge off sometimes? I mean, come on, Sunita, you've got to laugh a little, even in space, right? Sunita's lips twitched into a small smile. Sure, she said. I laugh all the time, mostly when I watch people on Earth think they could do what we do up here. The crowd erupted into laughter, tension breaking like a dam. Even Whoopi cracked a smile. But seriously, Sunita continued, her tone softening. I know humor has a place. And I'm not asking for a free pass. What I'm asking for is respect, because if we don't respect the hard work people do in impossible conditions, we're just making it harder for the next person who dares to dream. Joy Behar, who had been quietly observing the exchange, finally spoke. You know what, she said. I think we owe you an apology. Whoopi glanced sideways at her but didn't protest. You're right, Sunita, Joy continued. It's easy for us to sit here and make jokes when we're safe on solid ground. But what you're doing, it's bigger than that. And we should treat it like it is. For a moment, the camera lingered on Sunita floating in the vastness of space, a symbol of human ingenuity and grit. I appreciate that, Sunita said, her voice softer now. And hey, if you ever want to trade places, I'll be happy to host the view while you try fixing a solar panel in zero gravity. The audience roared with laughter again, but this time it was different. This time, the laughter was with her, not at her. The energy in the studio shifted. What had started as a light-hearted jab had transformed into a powerful reckoning. Whoopi Goldberg, known for holding her ground, now found herself on unfamiliar footing. Sunita Williams wasn't just defending herself. She was forcing everyone watching to reconsider how society treats those who break barriers. Whoopi exhaled deeply and adjusted her glasses. All right, Sunita, she said, her voice softer but still laced with her signature bluntness. I hear you, but let me ask you, do you think people like us, sitting here cracking jokes, really have that much influence over the next generation? I mean, isn't the real inspiration coming from the work you do, not what we say on a daytime talk show? Sunita's expression grew thoughtful. She floated a little closer to the camera, the glimmering earth spinning in the background, a quiet reminder of how far she had traveled, both literally and figuratively. You'd be surprised, Whoopi, she said. Words matter. More than you think. She paused, as if deciding whether to reveal something. Then, her voice softened. When I was a kid, I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me doing what I dreamed of. But one day I watched Sally Ride, the first American woman in space, speak on television. I was just a teenager, but I remember hanging on to every word. Her message wasn't complicated. She just showed me that women belonged in space. Sunita smiled faintly at the memory. So, when you ask whether your words matter, yeah, they do. Because the next Sunita Williams is sitting somewhere, watching your show right now, wondering if the world will take her seriously, or if she's just another punchline. A ripple of silence washed over the panel. Even Whoopi, who prided herself on keeping cool under pressure, seemed struck by the gravity of Sunita's words. Sarah Haynes, known for her empathetic demeanor, leaned in. Sunita, she said, her voice warm, can I ask you something? What's been the hardest part of your journey? Not just the spacewalks or the training, but really being a trailblazer. Sunita's smile faded slightly as she considered the question. The hardest part? She repeated, her voice quieter now. Honestly, it's the constant need to prove I belong. Every room I walk into, every mission I take on. There's always this unspoken question hanging in the air. Is she really good enough? And that doesn't go away just because I've logged hundreds of hours in space. Every mistake, every stumble, feels amplified because people are watching, waiting for a reason to say I don't deserve to be here. And it's not just me. Every woman in a male-dominated field knows that pressure. You're not just carrying your own hopes. You're carrying the dreams of every little girl who wants to follow in your footsteps. A murmur swept through the audience. Whoopi, despite her tough exterior, seemed to soften as she leaned forward. All right, she said quietly. I'll give you that. It's easy for us to sit here and joke, but you've had to fight battles we'll never understand. I respect that. For the first time, Sunita's expression eased. Thank you, she said simply. Whoopi tilted her head, still unwilling to let go of her playful side entirely. But I gotta know, she added with a wry smile. Have you ever pulled a prank up there? Come on, Sunita, don't tell me astronauts don't have a sense of humor. A soft chuckle escaped Sunita's lips. Oh, absolutely, she said. Once, I filled one of my crewmate's gloves with powdered drink mix, so that when he put them on, his hands turned bright orange. Laughter exploded across the studio, the tension finally breaking. And, she added with a wink, I once sent a fake emergency alert to Mission Control that said, "We're out of coffee. Send help immediately." Even Whoopi couldn't hold back a laugh. Okay, I like you, she admitted, raising her hands in mock surrender. The audience cheered, sensing a truce forming between the two powerful women. But Sunita, ever the astronaut, wasn't done making her point. Look, she said, her tone returning to its steady calmness. I get that humor is important. It gets us through the hard days. Trust me, I know. But there's a line between laughing with someone and laughing at them. And when it comes to women breaking boundaries, we've got to be mindful of that line. Whoopi nodded slowly. Fair enough, she said. I can own that. And hey, next time you're back on Earth, how about you come down here and take a seat at the table? I'd love to hear more stories. Off the record. Sunita's smile grew wider. You're on, she said. The tension between Sunita Williams and Whoopi Goldberg had eased, but the conversation was far from over. Sunita's words had left a mark not just on the panel, but on everyone watching. For once, a morning talk show wasn't just dishing out celebrity gossip or political soundbites. This was something deeper, an honest reckoning about power, representation, and the invisible battles fought by women in high-stakes fields. Whoopi, still processing the exchange, leaned forward again. You know, Sunita, she said, her voice more reflective, what you're saying makes sense. And maybe I was too quick to joke about it. But here's what I wonder, how do you keep going when the world is always watching, waiting for you to fail? Sunita's face softened as she considered the question. Floating in the vastness of space had a way of putting things in perspective. You know, Whoopi, she began, there's a saying we have at NASA, failure is not an option. But what people don't realize is that we fail all the time. We fail in simulations, We fail in training. We fail in private so that when it really counts, we succeed. She paused for a moment, her gaze thoughtful. The truth is, I've doubted myself. More times than I can count. But every time I face that doubt, I think about the people who came before me, people who had to fight harder and risk more just to get a seat at the table. And then I think about the next generation, the girls who are watching, wondering if they can make it. Her voice grew stronger. I keep going for them. Because if I quit, I'm not just quitting for myself, I'm closing the door behind me. The audience broke into applause, not the polite kind, but the kind that swells from something real. Sunny Hostin, moved by Sunita's words, chimed in. I have to say, she began, as a woman of color myself, I know exactly what you mean about always having to prove you belong. And it's exhausting. But hearing you speak, it's inspiring. You're not just doing this for yourself. You're doing it for all of us. Sunita smiled warmly. Thank you, Sunny. That means a lot. Whoopi, never one to let a conversation get too sentimental without grounding it, cleared her throat. Okay, she said, waving her hands playfully. Enough making me feel like the villain. Sunita, you've made your point loud and clear. And I'll admit it, you're tougher than I gave you credit for. Sunita's eyes twinkled with humor. I'll take that as a compliment, she said. But Whoopi added, raising a finger, if you ever mess up on live TV, I'm gonna roast you. Fair's fair. Sunita laughed, a bright, genuine sound that echoed through the studio. Deal, she said. But good luck keeping up. Space might be tough, but trust me, Whoopi, I'm tougher. The crowd erupted in laughter again, and even Whoopi gave an exaggerated bow of respect. As the video feed from the International Space Station faded to black, the studio buzzed with an energy rarely felt on a typical morning of The View. Sunita Williams had done more than hold her own. She had turned what could have been a fleeting joke into a powerful statement about resilience, representation, and the unseen struggles behind every groundbreaking achievement. For a few moments after the interview ended, the panel sat in thoughtful silence, an unusual pause for a show known for its rapid-fire debates. Then, it was Whoopi who broke the quiet, her voice softer and more reflective than usual. You know, she said, her gaze sweeping across the room, I've sat at this table for a long time. I've had my fair share of spats, arguments, and even a few public apologies. But this was different. Sunny Hostin nodded, her face still marked by the weight of Sunita's words. It really was, she agreed. We talk a lot about empowering women, but Sunita's right. If we're not careful, our jokes can do the opposite. And for women like her, women breaking barriers, that's the last thing they need. Joy Behar, always the quick wit, shook her head with a small smile. Well, she quipped, I don't know about you ladies, but I'm never teasing an astronaut again. They're tougher than all of us combined. Laughter rippled through the room, easing the last bits of tension. But Whoopi wasn't finished. Look, she said, leaning back in her chair. I've made a career out of saying what other people are too scared to say. And yeah, I still believe in the power of humor. But Sunita's right about one thing, we've got a responsibility to the people watching. And if a kid out there, some little girl who dreams of flying to space, hears us laughing at her role model, that's on us. A murmur of agreement passed through the panel. And I'll tell you something else, Whoopi added, her lips curling into a small smile. Sunita Williams? She's the real deal. If I ever get stuck in space, I'm calling her. Not you three. More laughter filled the studio, light but genuine. As the show moved on to its next segment, the conversation lingered in the minds of viewers across the country. Social media exploded with praise for Sunita's poised and powerful response. Clips of her words, failure isn't weakness. It's part of the process, went viral, inspiring people from all walks of life. One tweet, in particular, captured the mood of the nation. Sunita Williams didn't just defend herself. She defended every woman who's ever been doubted. Absolute queen energy. #respect, #The View. Meanwhile, back on the International Space Station, Sunita Williams floated quietly by a small observation window, watching the Earth spin slowly beneath her. The lights of cities twinkled against the darkness, a reminder of how far she had come. In the stillness, she allowed herself a rare moment of reflection. She thought of her parents who had always believed in her dreams. She thought of the countless hours of training, the impossible odds, the failures no one ever saw. And she thought of the little girls watching today, girls who might, for the first time, see themselves in her story. A smile touched her lips as she murmured to herself, "Let them laugh. We're still going higher." And with that, she turned back to her work, knowing that the mission wasn't just about fixing solar panels or running experiments, it was about proving, again and again, that no barrier was too high to break.